Aw yeah, Rivers here with some cool tech, and today we have the MINIX X7 Mini Android Mini PC. This guy is the little brother to the MINIX Neo X7, which is one of my favorite Android Mini PCs that I've used so far. Inside you get an assortment of cables and adapters, including a power cord and HDMI. You also get this IR remote control. And you can use this remote control to navigate one of the two included launcher interfaces to get to your apps and control them. Inside you've got a quad-core RK3188 CPU, quad-core Mali 400 GPU, 2 gigs of DDR3 memory, 8 gigs of flash memory, Wi-Fi 802.11, BGN. It's got an Ethernet port, an optical audio port, Bluetooth 4.0, and Android 4.2.2. On the side you've got 2 full-size USB ports with enough power to run an external hard drive, and you have a full-size SD card slot, which gives you the option to run either a full-size SD card or a micro SD card up to 32 gigabytes. It's about the size and shape of an Apple TV, but with the USB ports, an SD card slot, plus the customizability of the Android operating system. Here's how it compares to the original X7. The first thing you'll notice is that it doesn't have an external antenna. The antenna is internal, but it still works pretty well. Not quite as well as the X7 though. Comparing the ports, you get one less USB port and no dedicated OTG port. On the Mini, the USB port on the end is also the OTG port. The original X7 also has a power button, headphones jack, and a microphone jack. Since the X7 Mini has Bluetooth now, you don't really need the headphone jack. You can just use Bluetooth headphones like these MINIX NT1s. I have to say, after using these, Bluetooth headphones are really useful, and I don't think I can go back to corded. It's nice to be able to set your phone down and get some work done without cords getting in your way. Alright, now let's take a look at the software. So I went ahead and installed Go Launcher HD, which is a tablet version of Go Launcher. And let's run CPU-Z on here. And here you can see it's got the Cortex A9 architecture, 1.6 gigahertz, variable clock speed. And here's some more information about the other hardware. So you can see it's got a 720p kernel, which actually it does really good in gaming, and that might be why. And also you've got a 4 gig partition for app storage, so MINIX is listening to what people want here. Okay, next up let's run LinPack, which is a quick CPU benchmark. And remember, this guy is running on kind of a pre-release software, so it might be a little more optimized later on. But we're getting around 100, all the way up to about 121 was the top score that I got. And next up I ran AnTuTu on here, which kind of benchmarks all the different components of the system. And we got a pretty good score on here, 18,473. And I think AnTuTu has changed just a little bit. It gives you just a little bit higher score than it used to, but still the X7 Mini is nice and fast. You're not going to be waiting for anything with it. And next up, the test that everyone's been wanting to see, just the video playback. So I'm using MX Player here, and this works the best. I've tried some other ones and they are a little bit jumpy, but MX Player works great. And here you can see this is some home video I shot this summer for my trip to Okinawa. And at the very start it was a little bit choppy, and then to me it looks pretty smooth. I'm going to let this run through and you can just see if it looks choppy to you. And home video is actually one of the harder formats for these players to play. It's all of them too, not just Android players. It's probably because the bit rate's a little bit higher and they use different formats than the standard MKV a lot of times. One thing that needs a little bit of improvement is Netflix. Netflix needs to pick up the pace on its Android development with HD video. It works just fine on the X7 Mini, but the video resolution looks just like it does on other Android media players, a little bit low. I know there's an HD version of Netflix that was just released, but it only plays real HD video on the Nexus 7 with 4.3 right now. I've tried that version on the X7 Mini and it looks a little better, but still not totally awesome. Next, I tested XBMC on the Mini using the XAF custom build of XBMC. It works pretty well, but it still uses MX Player to play the video smoothly. By the way, here's some good news for you. MINIX is going to get a MINIX edition of XBMC, sort of like the Ouya has. So XBMC should be working really well in the next few months. Anyway, you can see the video looks good when you're using the MX Player version of XBMC. I think the sharpness will get even better too when the 1080p kernel ROM becomes available for this. And finally I did a little bit of gaming on here, so I hooked up my wired Xbox 360 controller and I played a little Asphalt 8, and this is actually probably one of my new favorite games. This game is just so fun, the graphics are nice, the gameplay is good, just the wrecks are probably my favorite part. I wanted to use this Bluetooth controller called the G910, and it actually works great on most games, but I couldn't get it to stay connected to the X7 Mini for some reason, probably because I'm using pre-release firmware here. So anyways, gaming on the X7 Mini performed pretty well. The frame rate's pretty good, the controllers are responsive. I wonder if it has to do with running a 720p kernel. I'm usually running a 1080p kernel, so it seems like it was just slightly slower then. Anyways, if the controller thing gets worked out, this is a good gamer right here. So I like to stick with a lot of the big name titles because they'll have an option for a controller. Just go in, configure the controller, and you're ready to play, and it's actually pretty easy. Okay guys, I'll put a list of the pros and cons in the video description down below. That way if anything changes when new firmware comes out, I can update it in there pretty easily. So the only cons were I wish I could get that Bluetooth controller working more consistently, and I think it will probably be in the future. And a 1080p kernel would be nice to have available. Okay, so real quick, some of the pros are the video playback seems to be real good on here, nice and smooth. Webcam support is good on here, my Logitech C525 works. A fully hardware accelerated MINIX edition XBMC should be coming in a few months. 4 gigs of flash storage dedicated for apps. And finally, MINIX's dedication to firmware updates is very valuable and probably one of the most important things. Alright guys, I'll put links in the description down below to all the hardware and software in here, and to when that new version of XBMC comes out, I'll put a link on here as well for that. If you like this video, be sure and hit that little like button down there, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like it. Thanks for watching, and as always, aloha.